What's going on, Reds? Welcome back to another episode of Liverpool Latest. My name is Matt. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoy the video, I highly implore you, leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel to never miss an upload because we post videos here every single day. So, in wake of the loss to Bournemouth, as I typically do, I like to see what Slot said in the post match interviews to the media. And a headline caught my eye. And then as I did more digging deeper into the article, I said to myself, this would make for such good clickbait, which it did because I obviously clicked on it. But at the same time, there's a little bit more to it than that. So if you would be so kind as to indulge me for a few minutes, I would like to touch on Slot's comments in our 3-2 loss, which, by the way, only moves us now further down the table because today Arsenal and Man United played, and United beat Arsenal, which means Arsenal got no points, but United are now above us in fourth, which it's like heaven and hell all in the same game. I wanted both teams to lose, but unfortunately, one of them had to win. So, but here's the other thing I'd like to talk about, where Slot is basically, I don't want to say he's making excuses because when I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, it sounds like an excuse. But in retrospect, if you put the hate blinders off or you take them off and you just look at this from an objective point of view, you know, he says, we only have ourselves to blame, plus, wind, fixtures, injuries, which, let's be fair, on the surface, again, sounds like an excuse. But in reality, let's be fair here, from what I understand, Liverpool was the only Champions League team who played earlier in the week to have such a short turnaround. There was a line here that I can read to you guys. Let me find out. It's here somewhere. I have it in my notes. Either way, we only had 2 days rest when it came to our Champions League match against Marseille, going into another away match in Bournemouth. So everybody else had a little bit longer of a rest, which, the fixtures we could kind of take into account because having to do so much traveling in such little time, very little time for rest in addition to that, I'm sure it's going to weigh down on somebody for sure. That said, injuries have also been a problem. I mean, look at the depth we have at the defensive end. Very poor, especially this game, which is going to get even poorer as I move forward with the course of this video. But obviously, Konate not being a part of the team right now due to his personal matter is kind of stretching us a little bit thin. So thin in the sense that Wataru Endo, Jesus, I don't know why I'm mixing up the two vowels there, but Wataru Endo is playing center back when he is a natural midfielder and more or less playing the most minutes I've seen him this entire season, to my recollection. So it's a real bother. Not to mention the fact that we also can blame Van Dijk for a lot of the defensive errors that we've had. The fact that we just, for some reason, could not defend a simple, routine corner kick that ended in a scramble with Bournemouth scoring a goal, which, by the way, I read something else too. Now, this I would call an excuse, and I'm not sure if I've been seeing this being quoted around, but then again, the anti-Slot rhetoric, which we also very much support here on the channel, is so thick now that I don't know if this has actually truly been said, but it has been making my feed that one of the excuses that Slot was making was the fact that the players were worn down, they were tired, they were weary. But were they really that tired? Because we made like 5 substitutions in that match, which is nearly half the team. So I don't know how anyone could be that tired. Or maybe some of the starters may probably, but I don't think that I think that was just an excuse. If it is true that he said that, I think that's complete bullshit. The fact that the players were exhausted over the course of the match. I mean, yes, with the fixtures, you can understand that, but at the same time, I think we made like 4 or 5 changes. You mean to tell me we're going to blame the guys that subbed into the game with 10 minutes left or 15, 20 minutes left? And now we're going to be like, oh, yeah, they were tired. No, they fucking weren't. They had all match to prepare for this. They were probably as fresh as anybody on that field, including Bournemouth subs, which they made quite a few themselves. So the game management, which he also touches on, was poor, because not pulling the ball when Joe was injured was definitely a mistake on their part, for sure. I'm not sure what the deal was with that. To be fair, I was not listening to the actual commentary, so I didn't necessarily pick up on that aspect. I was at work when I was watching this game, and I work in radio, so I was kind of having to listen to what was going on as opposed to listening to the game itself. So I can't confirm or deny that particular point, frankly, but it did look like to me that they should have done something to kick the ball out to get Joe Gomez off and taken care of and give the boys a bit of a reprieve. And it was certainly getting caught in that vulnerable phase, which, let's be honest, doesn't happen without Van Dijk poorly defending that fucking ball. Odds are Joe Gomez wouldn't have had to run across to try and make the save when he had to. So a lot of this could have been preventable, and Slot will continue to make any sort of excuse, as well as blame himself and the players in addition to that, as he should, because he's been more than the reason we've lost these matches. But at this point, there's nothing he can say that I could defend that I'd be like, okay, we can keep him. At this point, everybody is collectively in agreement, I would say, that Slot's got to be done. My buddy Johnny, who's the whole reason I became a Liverpool fan in the first place, he's like, get him out. Get that bald fucker out. Everybody online I follow who are part of the community, they want him out. They want Xabi Alonso, and that's that. And I don't think they'll settle until we see the news that Arne Slot is sacked and Xabi Alonso is signed, which, is it a good thing? No, because I think we're setting ourselves up for failure at the same time with the high expectations. I mean, look at what we've done this entire transfer window. We were setting ourselves up for disappointment from the first day of the year. Speaking of transfer window and defense, I have a couple of points I'm going to make in the following few minutes. As I mentioned, it is confirmed Joe Gomez did in fact suffer an injury in the first half of the match, presumably from that collision he had with Alisson Becker. What the injury is, I have no idea yet, but it is confirmed that he is definitely fucked up, as I'm sure he would be, because I am not sure in any way, shape, and form how he could possibly be okay after a collision like that. And I've seen players have collisions, but that was just a gnarly one that he suffered. And again, I'm assuming it's a concussion. The way everything kind of rattled around and ricocheted, and it screams concussion to me. That, or he got the wind severely knocked out of him, bruised ribs, because, it was like body on body there. So I hope he's okay. But this could not have come at a worse time, genuinely speaking, because now we are in defensive chaos. While Konate is out, which we don't know for how long, and he could take as much time as he wants, but we don't know how long he's going to take to get back, we are now in defensive chaos, which really sucks. It really sucks for us, because we have nobody, and we didn't sign anybody. So not only do we have no names to have rotational depth, and if we do, we're taking people out of position to put them in that depth, aka Endo. I don't know. This is only going to get worse. Imagine if Van Dijk goes down. Could you imagine if, say, God forbid, Virgil van Dijk next match goes down? Horrific injury, out several weeks, maybe months. Worst case scenario, season ending. Now what are we going to do? We didn't make any signings. It's January 25th. We still have a few days left of the year. Hold on, how many more days do we have exactly? We have until like Saturday. Next Saturday. It's Sunday right now. We have less than a week to make any sort of play on a player to get defensive depth. We lost out on Gahey. We still haven't moved on Nico Schlotterbeck. We still have not made an attempt to contact Mickey Van de Ven. We're fucked. We signed two guys that are apparently very good and good for the future of the team, but they're in no condition to play on the first team right now. They're not ready for that pressure yet. We are in hell. That's where we are. We are in defensive hell. We're lucky that Frimpong is able to stay at right back because Connor Bradley is out. We're thankful that Kirkez and Robertson have not been fucked up in any capacity that they could play the way they play. Once Konate gets back, I'll feel a little bit more, just a little bit better, but I don't feel good right now. Oh, man. I question this team's front office moves this transfer window. I really do. I questioned it the second they got rid of Jarrell Kwanzaa. Once I started like kind of thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, Jarrell Kwanzaa's gone. I wasn't like super ecstatic about like him being on the team to begin with because the previous season had kind of soured me on him. But then I started looking at the depth that we had at that position on center back, and I'm like, oh fuck, we don't have anybody. Whew, great idea, Slot. Great idea, Liverpool. Get rid of a young player that could have helped us out in this position. Not the best thing we could be doing. And all of this culminating in the fact that now, above all, we cannot hide behind the 13-match unbeaten run. Which wasn't really all that much impressive to begin with because a lot of it were draws against shitty teams. Teams that we should not have drew against. Poor performances, even with wins, struggling to beat the likes of Wolves, for Christ's sake. 2 draws against Leeds. Lost to Bournemouth. I mean, and then a draw to Burnley. So that's like 6 matches right there that we either drew or won that performed poorly in. And then let's talk about the wins we did have, which were, the FA Cup and the Champions League. Again, good results for a different league and a different competition. I care about the Premier League right now. We only have to worry about the Champions League like once every couple of weeks, if not once every other week. We only have to worry about the FA Cup maybe once every 2 weeks or so. But we have to play a Premier League match every single week. As it stands right now, unless international breaks take place. Which I don't think there is any coming up to my knowledge. So now we can't sit here and hide behind this unbeaten run, which wasn't really all that impressive. Because we were not a feared team in this progress. We were... How do I explain this in Animal Kingdom terms? You know how you ever see a cartoon and you see the shadow of a really big, nasty animal? It's growling, it's barking if it's a dog, it's roaring if it's a lion. And then you come out and it's like the little shaggy little animal of its kind, like a really demented-looking cat. Or a really, like, harmless-looking dog, like a golden retriever type or something along those lines. That's kind of Liverpool. We give off the persona that we are unbeatable. When in reality, the uncomfortable truth is that we are no longer feared. We're no longer feared even on our own home stadium. I've mentioned this before, and I've seen this talked about quite a bit. Under Klopp, Anfield was a fortress to be reckoned with. Teams hated playing at that stadium. Teams were afraid to play in Anfield. The crowds, undeniably electric. And now I can hear a fucking pin drop amongst thousands of loyal fans like you and me. I hope to. It has been my dream for a long time, for quite some time, to go to Anfield and watch a Liverpool match. And if that's the atmosphere I gotta deal with every week, I'd rather fucking sit home in the United States, not have to spend thousands of dollars on a flight. If that's the energy I'm getting every match, it's very poor, extremely poor. Not much to work with. No chants outside of maybe the Diogo Jota chant. Just boos and frustration and groans and maybe an occasional cheer here and there. But other than that, relatively quiet to the point where the fans don't really have an impact on the match as they should. Oh, I also forgot. Fulham was another team that we played. I don't remember if we had drew or lost that one. Frankly, I could give a fuck about Fulham, but so amongst all of this, I am tired. I'm very tired. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. Every day, I sit here at this desk, in front of this computer, in front of this camera, with this beautiful overlay provided for me. And I want to put down on the bottom, Arne Slot sacked. And talk about that for 15 minutes. That day is still yet to come. And until that day comes, you can still find me here every single week on Liverpool Latest. Thank you so much for watching today's video. And know that if you subscribe to the channel and become part of the family, as long as I'm here, you'll never walk alone.